You had a good childhood. Your parents were present. They showed up to your games. They paid for your education. They never hit you, never screamed, never locked you out. By every objective measure, your childhood was fine, normal, maybe even good. But something's wrong, and you can't figure out what. You're successful, you have achievements, you make good money, but you feel empty, disconnected, like something's missing that you can't name. Your relationships keep falling apart, not because of drama or betrayal, but because you can't let anyone close. Because something inside you learned that it wasn't safe to need people. And you've been looking for someone to blame. Your parents, your childhood, your genes. But they all say the same thing. You had it good. What's your problem? Here's the truth. Your childhood might have been normal, but normal isn't the same as healthy. And the wounds that normal families create, they're often deeper than obvious abuse. Because at least obvious wounds you can see, at least you know to heal them. But covert trauma, the wounds no one sees, those wound you in ways you don't even recognize. And if you've spent your whole life wondering why you're broken when you had everything, if you've blamed yourself for being too sensitive or too needy, this video is for you. Let's understand what actually happened to you. First, let's define what we're talking about, because most people don't realize this is trauma at all. Covert trauma is harm caused through absence rather than aggression. It's emotional wounds inflicted not by what your parents did, but by what they didn't do. Think about it. If your parent hit you, that's abuse. You know it's wrong. You know to heal it. But if your parent was just not there, emotionally absent, present in body but absent in spirit, you don't have a name for what happened, so you can't heal it. You just carry it. Research shows that 64% of Americans experienced at least one ACE, adverse childhood experience, before age 18. But here's what's crucial. Most of those aren't dramatic abuse. They're subtle. They're covert. They're emotional neglect, conditional love, a parent who was there but never present, a family that looked normal but felt empty inside. And the tragedy? Covert trauma is the most misdiagnosed form of childhood wounding because it doesn't leave visible scars. You grew up, you functioned, you succeeded. No one knew you were broken. Maybe you didn't know either. There are 6 core types of covert trauma that show up in normal families. Understanding which one shaped you is the key to healing. Type number 1, emotional neglect. Your parents were physically there. They fed you, they clothed you, they got you to school, but they were never emotionally there. When you came home crying, they said, "You're fine, stop being dramatic." When you were scared, they said, "Don't be a baby." When you needed comfort, they just weren't available. Not because they were mean, but because they didn't know how. So you learned something crucial. Your feelings don't matter. Your needs are an inconvenience. It's not safe to be vulnerable. And now as an adult, you can't cry in front of people. You can't ask for help. You're uncomfortable with intimacy because intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability was never safe. Type number 2, conditional love. Your parents loved you, but only when you performed, only when you achieved, only when you made them proud. "I'm so proud of you" for getting an A. "We love you when you make us look good." Your worth equals your achievements. Your parents never said that explicitly. But every time you failed, their love withdrew. Every time you had a problem, their patience ran out. So you learned love is conditional. People only stay if you keep producing. Now as an adult, you're exhausted. You're a high achiever, but you feel empty. Because you're not doing things for yourself, you're doing them to keep people from leaving. You feel unlovable for just being. You only feel worthy when doing. Type number 3, parentification. This one is one of the deepest, and it often goes completely unrecognized. You became your parents' emotional support, not on purpose, but somewhere along the way you flipped roles. Your parent came to you for comfort. Maybe your mom confided her relationship problems to you. Maybe your dad used you as his emotional processing partner. Maybe you became the strong one in the family, the one who held everyone together. And as a child, you felt special, needed, important. But what you actually were, burdened with adult responsibilities you couldn't handle. Now as an adult, you can't ask for help. You can't be vulnerable. You're the strong one, the caretaker, the one everyone relies on. And you're exhausted because you never got to just be a child. Type 4, enmeshment. This sounds nice. Your family was close, very involved in each other's lives. No secrets, everything shared. But there were no boundaries. Your parents didn't see you as a separate person. You were an extension of them. Your success was their success. Your emotions were their emotions. Your choices were their business. And because there were no boundaries, you didn't develop a strong sense of self. You defined yourself through your family, through what they thought, through what they wanted. Now, as an adult, you don't know who you are separate from what others think. You can't make decisions without consulting people. You feel responsible for other people's emotions. And you're terrified of abandonment because you never learned to stand alone. Type 5, dismissal and invalidation. Your feelings were too much. Your concerns were silly. Your pain was dramatic. And worst of all, you were told you were wrong for feeling what you felt. Stop being so sensitive. You're overreacting. That's not a big deal. You're too emotional. Over and over, your inner reality was told it was wrong. So you learned not to trust yourself. Your gut feeling? Probably wrong. Your emotional reaction? Probably an overreaction. Your needs? Probably selfish. Now, as an adult, people gaslight you and you don't even recognize it because you were gaslit your whole childhood. You doubt yourself, you question your own reality, and you attract people who dismiss you because that's what felt like love. Type 6, perfectionism pressure. Your parents had standards, very high standards, and your job was to meet them, not just meet them, exceed them. Because if you weren't perfect, you were failing, and if you were failing, you were disappointing, and disappointment meant you weren't good enough. And if you weren't good enough, maybe you weren't worth loving. That message, explicit or implicit, rewired your nervous system. Now you can't rest. Now you can't be satisfied. Now you're always reaching for something just out of reach. And you're terrified of failure, because failure means you're unlovable. Most people experience multiple types. Your childhood might have had emotional neglect and conditional love and perfectionism pressure. That's actually really common. But here's what matters. These 6 types have something in common. They all send one message: your emotional needs don't matter. And that's the root of covert trauma. Here's something crucial that nobody talks about. The people most traumatized by covert wounding are often the most successful. Think about it. If your family rewarded achievement above all else, if your worth was tied to performance, if you learned that love was conditional on success, you became driven, you became ambitious, you became someone who achieves, someone who doesn't quit, someone who reaches for greatness. Your trauma didn't break you, it drove you, and now you're successful. So when someone suggests you're broken, you say, "No, I'm not. Look at what I've accomplished." But here's what your achievements are masking. You can't do relationships. You can't slow down. You can't rest. You can't be vulnerable. You can't feel. Because those things require what your childhood never taught you: how to be loved for just existing, not for what you do, but for who you are. And so you have this strange duality. You're winning at life and losing at love. You're successful externally and empty internally. You've built everything except a self that's worth something. And the worst part? You don't even know what's wrong. Because by conventional standards, your childhood was fine. So you blame yourself. I'm broken. I'm too ambitious. I'm incapable of connection. But you're not broken. Your childhood was just broken in a way nobody recognizes. To understand covert trauma, you need to understand something about how the brain develops. When you're a child, your brain is building neural pathways based on repeated experiences. If your parents consistently respond to your needs, your brain learns, the world is safe, my needs matter, people can be trusted. But if your parents consistently ignore your emotional needs, if they respond with dismissal, if they never attune to your inner world, your brain learns something different. The world is not safe. My needs don't matter. I must survive alone. And this isn't just a psychological message. This rewires your actual nervous system. It dysregulates your vagus nerve, the nerve that controls your fight-or-flight response. So now, as an adult, you're stuck in one of two states. Either you're in hypervigilance, always scanning for danger, always tense, or you're in dissociation, emotionally numb, disconnected, going through the motions. You can't find the middle ground. You can't relax. You can't just be. Because your nervous system was trained that safety doesn't exist. And this explains something crucial about your relationships, why you can't let people close, why intimacy feels dangerous, why you sabotage good relationships, why you're attracted to emotionally unavailable people. It's not because you're broken. It's because your brain is protecting you, the only way it knows how, based on what it learned in childhood. Now let's talk about where covert trauma really shows up, and that's in your romantic relationships. If you're here watching this, you probably have a pattern. You meet someone. It feels amazing at first, but then something happens. Either you start pushing them away, or you attract someone who treats you the way you were treated, dismissive, unavailable, conditional. Or you sabotage the relationship right when it gets real. And you don't know why. You want to be in a relationship, but something inside you can't do intimacy. Here's why. Your childhood didn't teach you what healthy intimacy looks like. It taught you that being close equals being hurt, that vulnerability equals danger, that love is conditional, that people leave. So when someone tries to get close to you, your nervous system screams, "Danger! Protect yourself! Leave before they leave you!" And the saddest part? You don't consciously choose to sabotage. Your body just does it, because that's what safety feels like to you. You're not afraid of love. You're afraid of being hurt the way you were hurt. And until you heal that, you can't do real intimacy. But before we talk about what comes next, I need to say something important. Your parents weren't trying to hurt you. They were doing the best they could with what they knew. Their parents did the same to them. This is generational. But that doesn't mean your wounds aren't real. Just because they weren't intentional doesn't make them less damaging. Just because your childhood looked fine doesn't mean it didn't wound you. And here's the beautiful part. Now that you see what happened, you can actually change it. Because healing covert trauma isn't about blame. It's about reparenting yourself. It's about learning what your childhood didn't teach you. It's about rewiring your nervous system for safety. And that's possible. That's absolutely possible. Here's what actually works if you have covert trauma. Path 1. Recognize your patterns. You can't heal what you don't see, so start paying attention. What relationships do you choose? What do you avoid? What makes you shut down? Where do you people please? Write it down. Look for the thread. Most of your patterns go back to those 6 types of covert trauma. Find yours. Just naming it is healing. Path 2. Reparent yourself. Your childhood didn't teach you. Your feelings are valid. Your needs matter. You're worthy just for existing. It's safe to be vulnerable. Now you have to teach yourself these things. You have to become the parent who never left, the parent who listens, the parent who validates, the parent who loves you unconditionally. This looks like setting boundaries with people, saying no without guilt, comforting yourself when you're scared, celebrating your wins, treating yourself with kindness. Path 3. Rewire your nervous system. Your nervous system learned fear. Now it needs to learn safety. This isn't cognitive. Thinking your way out won't work. You need to teach your body that safety exists. This means somatic therapy, breath work, grounding techniques, finding someone safe and practicing vulnerability with them. Slowly teaching your nervous system that being close doesn't kill you. Your brain can change. Your nervous system can relearn. It takes time, it takes practice, but it's possible. The key is you need all 3: recognition, reparenting, rewiring, because covert trauma touched all 3 levels. Here's what I want you to know. Your normal childhood was actually traumatic. Not because your parents were evil, but because normal families don't always know how to raise emotionally healthy humans. But that trauma, it's not your identity. It's not a life sentence. It's information. It's a map. And with that map, you can finally find your way home, to yourself, to real connection, to the life that was always possible. If you recognize yourself in this, if your childhood was fine, but you're still broken, know that you're not alone. And the fact that you're here, watching, understanding, that's the first step to healing. Drop a comment. Tell me, which type of covert trauma resonates with you? And what's one pattern you're going to start paying attention to? Like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.